Alright, so it's been a while since I made my last video on the engine stand. I had to cut the rear legs off, rearrange them so that I would have the correct balance on the stand itself for the weight of the transmission that I'm going to put on it, whether it's a 4L60, 700R4, or 4L80, what have you. Maybe even Fords, who knows. I don't really want to do Fords, but it is what it is. Anyways, there's still a couple more brackets I got to put on there, support brackets, also mainly just for aesthetics. And then the actual part, the bracket that bolts onto the engine on the stand, I'm going to have to modify and cut for the tranny bracket that I made. No, not that tranny. And I'll do a video on that later so you can see how I did that, and maybe you might want to make your own and go from there. But for right now, I'll show you what it looks like on the stand, and we'll go from there. So this is where I've gotten so far. You can see how I did the front wheels. I know you remember that from the last video if you watched it. And then on the rears, I actually cut the pipe too short. And then I said, oh man, I'm just going to go get a new piece of pipe. Well, it cost me about $30, $35 to buy a 20-foot piece of pipe. And I wasn't going to do that. So I just welded back on what I had cut off. And it actually worked fine. So I went ahead and put them back on. And then you can see this square tubing actually used to be underneath this pipe, and now it's above it. That's why I had to cut it in half. And there ain't nothing different on this except for the rear that I did. And it's not going to stay this ugly, believe me. There's a few things I have to do to fix it, and I just have to put a couple supports, which is not really necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway just for aesthetics. And we'll put this away for now. And so here's the bracket that bolts to the engine. You have your little pieces here that I had already took off that actually bolt onto the engine, that space it from the engine to the bracket. Didn't need those, obviously I took them off. And then I have my tranny bracket that I built. It's got stainless pieces, stainless bolts, stainless nuts, stainless stud, same for here, all stainless. That way it'll last a while anyway. And got the heavy gauge square tubing. And let me set this on there and I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, so there you go. And on this bracket where you see the black line, I'm cutting that right there so that this will be trash. Cut it on the same side, this will be trash. So really all I'm just using is the center, because I don't need this big giant piece on there. And then I'm going to weld that on there, and I'll probably put a little bracket here and a little bracket here just for support, which I probably don't even need. Remember, this thing ain't going to take over 180 pounds. So that's what it looks like for that. The bracket, I will post a video on that, show you what that, how that was built. And as for the stand, it's coming out good. It's coming out just the way I wanted. And really the reason why I got all four swivel casters was for this one reason. This thing can be moved any way you want it. And it's going to swivel. And all four wheels are locking, which is what I wanted. So, believe me, it looks like crap right now, but when I'm done with it, it's going to be pretty cool. Alright. see you on the next video. Like I said, the next video on this is going to be the last video where it's going to be completed, because I've already made actually too many videos on this and I've prolonged it too long already. Alright, over and out. Like and subscribe. Thanks. Alright, so I cut the brackets off. Well, they're not even brackets. I cut the ends off of the engine stand mount. So this is what I have, and I'm going to mount the tranny bracket onto this. I've already cleaned it up, and on this one I'm going to clean up the edges, and I'm going to do a practice weld on it, because I'm not sure if this is like some kind of pot metal or if it's actual steel. It is welded around the ends here, so I'm pretty sure it's steel. And then you can see it has like a slip yoke type in it, and then they welded the inside. So if they can weld the inside of that, I'm sure it's probably going to be okay, but I'm just going to make double sure and go from there. But this part's done for that part. We'll get to the next one. Alright, so I just checked it. Like I said, I thought this might have been some kind of pot metal or cast, but it's actually real steel, so, and it welded out really, really good, so it's steel. Okay, so I put a vise on the bracket attachment, so it's sitting on the side of the table. What I'm going to do here is get my tranny bracket. I'm going to mount this up. I've already marked it. And that's pretty much how it's going to go. So what I'll do is I'll take all that in, and then I'll show you the rest when I'm done with it. Alright, for those of y'all wondering, yes, I do bevel the square tubing where it's going to be welded. So I can get as much penetration, as much material as I can on there. Alright, let's tack it up. Alright, so how I'm going to be doing this, I need to run my short cap. Can't run a long cap. I'm going to have some tungsten stick out because I do have a bevel on that square tubing, and that's just to make sure that I'm able to reach inside real good and I don't have the cap hidden. That goes for both sides. Alright, so there you go. All I need to do is put a couple braces on the back arms for the wheels, and this is done. Well, I still have to paint it and make it aesthetically pleasing, but as you can see, This thing is welded all the way around on this bracket. Came out good. Not just like I thought it would. Alright, a couple more brackets, we'll be done. Then we'll get to painting. Then we'll mount something up so you can see what it looks like while the tranny is actually hooked on it.